Shadow of the Colossus is widely considered a masterpiece, yet it still remains a unique game few have attempted to replicate. It isn't too uncommon after a great game that many others try to replicate it or at the very least borrow mechanics from it. That's what I want to talk about, the monster climbing mechanic from Shadow of the Colossus. Being in the same environment as the colossal creatures and starting out on the ground where they tower over you, you eventually manage to make your way up the creatures, climbing all over them and finding their weak points. The entire game was built around this mechanic. Yet why is this not a mechanic in more games? Some games have used it to an extent, such as Dragon's Dogma, but it wasn't the focus, and so the moments of being able to scale larger creatures were few and far between. There seem to be some 2D games that could be labeled as inspired by Shadow of the Colossus, such as Titan Souls, though lacking the climbing mechanic, and Death's Gambit, yet still being very different in their own ways. The only game that actually seems to be very heavily inspired by Shadow of the Colossus and heavily implement the mechanic of climbing on the creatures is a kickstarted game called Pray for the Gods. But it is still a game that is not yet released and is only a small indie studio working on it without a major publisher backing them. There hasn't been any major AAA game attempting to replicate the climbing of gigantic monsters as a central game mechanic. Shadow of the Colossus was released 12 years ago and is widely considered a masterpiece, yet so few seem to have borrowed inspiration from it. It was up to Team Ico themselves with The Last Guardian that a AAA game actually came close to replicating the feel of Shadow of the Colossus. What's even more mind-boggling is that the game released on PlayStation 2 with all its technical limitations, and yet we are still slashing at the feet of gigantic monsters 12 years later. Here's hoping that if Pray for the Gods turns out well and is successful, more developers will attempt to make the combat that much more colossal. If you enjoyed this video, why not smash the like button? And if you would like to see more gaming related talks, from underappreciated games and game mechanics to latest video game industry developments and speculation, consider smashing the subscribe button and the bell next to it.